Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast, your go-to source for real estate investing in Northwest Arkansas.
Whether you're a seasoned investor just starting out, we bring you expert insights, market trends, and practical strategies to help you build wealth through real estate.
From buying and selling to property management and long-term investment planning, we cover it all so you can make smart, informed decisions in this fast-growing market. Let's dive in. All right, welcome back to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast. I'm here with Brian Wagers, my co-host. And we just finished up wrapping up talking about underwriting and some strategies and things that we look at and we use in our everyday practice. And then before that, we talked about partnerships and how we structure those, what you should expect there on structuring and what general partners are and limited partners and some interesting terminology that I think would be good for any kind of investor. And we wanted to just wrap up here. If you haven't listened to those, go back and listen to them. But if we just wanted to wrap up here with kind of how we're thinking about the end of 2025 in Q3, Q4 here. We're getting towards the end of the year. And kind of what strategies that we're thinking about. A lot has changed this year and as far as even obviously the market and how things has continued. Inventory has continued to climb. But also, here in Northwest Arkansas, everything has continued to be strong. Rents have continued to be strong. Prices have continued to be strong. And then on top of that, just with new administration being in January 20th, some of the things that they were able to pass in the big, beautiful bill, and how that has changed things for just the way that we're thinking about, transactions and wrapping up 2025 and headed into 2026. So, Brian, anything just high level, obviously we're going to dig into this, but anything that you're thinking about specifically at the end of 2025 that are you trying to do as many deals as you can or are you still being pretty conservative yourself right now? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, September, October, November, December, last 4 months of the year. This is my favorite time of year, not just because football's back and the holidays are around here. I love fall and the holidays, but a lot of people kind of take their foot off the gas actually around this time. So it's an opportunity for people to come in on, deals where some people are already thinking about 2026, which is good to be thinking about 2026, but some people will even pause anything they're not trying to get done, whether they're not as focused, but usually at the end of the year, I'm seeing a lot of good deals that happen, whether people need to get out of those deals or there's not as many buyers in that opportunity. So I think it's a good time to be a buyer at the end of the year. If you can make it happen and put deals together, that's where besides some of the strategies that we'll be talking about, that's what I like to think about at the end of the year. I seem to find some more good deals around this time of year.
Yeah, I love that. And even just thinking about the residential market, I was looking at some of the data recently, and now from this time last year, we're up about anywhere between 20 to 30% in active inventory. And so just thinking about even as a residential single-family home buyer, or if you're looking for your own house, or even if you're an investor in that space, historically the market, as we get in, like you said, as we get into the fall, especially into the holidays, buyers are just, they're kind of thinking about next spring and that being the time to buy. And so you have a lot less buyers in the market. Inventory will continue to likely climb. And so you have a situation where you have a lot of opportunity, negotiation opportunities out there if you're looking in that space. And then again, too, in kind of that commercial or multifamily space, folks are kind of wrapping up for the year and stuff like that. So
for me, it's also a time to not get sucked into the whirlwind of all the properties, all the asset management, construction management, whatever you're doing, but also to take a step back and look at, okay, these properties that I've been in, whether that's from the beginning of the year, a year ago, 2 years ago, how are they performing today versus how I was projecting the performance. We talked about underwriting in our last episode, going back to that original underwriting and seeing how you're performing compared to that. Is there any properties that you may be looking at? Okay, what's my next plan here? Is our debt coming due in the next year? Do we need to look at refinancing that, or do we need to look at preparing for a sale? Should we go ahead and put some more money into this property to really juice up the income? Is there any opportunity on this property to do that, to get income up before we get a sale? Is there anything that we need to do there? So I like taking a step back and looking at the properties that I'm in, besides just the, as I call it, the whirlwind of what's, fast and needed, but and taking a step back and looking at that and really looking at exactly that. Should I be thinking about selling? Should I be thinking about refinancing? And any other levers to pull?
Yeah, I love that. I think it's also just a time to like, let's not make a dumb decision. Also, even with like kind of what we're saying, with there being likely more opportunities at the end of the year because there's less competition out there, really getting after it towards the end of the year. It's also time, as we think about things that have changed in the administration with cost segregations and bonus depreciation, with that being back at 100% bonus depreciation and there being opportunity there for folks. I think now's the time to also think about, hey, we've got to close something. We've likely got to get something under contract in the next month or two if we want to close it by the end of the year. But even with that, let's not make a dumb decision just to get some tax savings. Do you see that sometimes out there with?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm not as a huge fan of a 1031, because there is so much pressure to overpay. When you have a 1031, you're in a kind of a time crunch to really position that. Yeah, that's great on the tax savings, but man, I see a lot of 1031 buyers overpay. If I'm a seller, when I'm a seller, it's actually not a bad time to look at listing some of your properties to quote unquote catch a 1031 buyer. If you can catch someone that needs a 1031 that needs to be completed by the end of the year, it's not a bad time to softly put it out with some brokers, or even put it on the market where you might get lucky with that 1031 buyer. So honestly, yeah, I've never 1031 myself. I've helped facilitate a 1031 investor where they just did not want the tax bill, so that's fine. Everyone has their different tax strategies there. It's a good time of year to be talking to your CPA and looking at your portfolio and making any kind of strategies. I think bonus depreciation and cost segregations are a great tool in the tool belt, besides just normal straight line depreciation. Bonus is great if you had a good year and some needs. And then also looking at opportunity zones, that's a good opportunity for someone who has a big tax burden. Investing in opportunity zones where you're deferring those taxes and even not paying taxes after you've in an investment for 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, those are great. I think we're oftentimes, like you said, talking about this, with my clients at this time of the year. Hey, this might be a good idea. Like, I know you've been talking about potentially listing, this small multifamily or this little apartment complex you have, and now might be the time, because there are historically, you'll find a lot of 1031 buyers in Q4 into Q3 timeframe, and so we talk about that all the time. And then going back to what you said with kind of those cost segregation studies as well. Something to consult with your CPA about, and the implications of that and what that looks like. But great opportunity for investors to be able to, if you're able to set it up correctly, to be able to have some really big tax savings with how things have changed with the new bill that passed. So I'd recommend getting with your CPA and kind of talking through what that looks like. But just as we look at 2026 and beyond, a lot of stuff in the news right now, especially about rate cuts and how the Fed is looking at things. Something interesting that I saw recently was that maybe that the Fed has now taken off their, where they have previously had where they want inflation to be at 2%. They've now taken off that guideline. I don't know if you've seen that as of late. And I'd have to, I'll pull that up to show you after this, but they have taken off their guideline of 2%. And to me, that feels like maybe the guideline is higher, right, or that it's changed now. And so to me, it feels like, if that's the case, and if inflation's going to be higher in the future, the dollar is dead, or the dollar is going to continue to go down in value, and assets are going to continue to go up in value. Real estate, stocks, all the things that we talk about. So I think, what are your thoughts? I know obviously that's a lot there, but Fed is obviously talking right now. We're the beginning of September about cutting rates here in September, and so what are your thoughts as you look to 2026?
Yeah, I think the Fed's biggest priority is inflation. They're also looking at the job market too, like what's unemployment at, what are kind of some recession indicators. I think it's really interesting to see the current administration push to privatize the Fed to put pressure on them to lower interest rates. I think the interest rates will come down. I personally am not underwriting for them to come down, but I think they will come down. It's hard to predict when they will come down or what they will come down. For me, I'm trying to do good deals that make sense in today's market. If we're assuming that where interest rates aren't going anywhere, that's how I'm looking. I'm being active. I'm staying active, super active, not taking the foot off the gas. I think there's a lot of activity right now, but I think as we get deeper into 2025, you will see people start to take the foot off the gas for 2025. So there will be those opportunities. But for 2026, I was looking at some of my portfolio at, when are some of my notes coming due? I have a property that has, I was just looking at it, and it's like the DSCR is like 2.2, and we have a 3.5% interest rate that's good through 2027. So before I really was digging it, I was getting a lot of calls on it and entertaining high offers, but I think, for that particular property, I'm going to sit on it, continue to sit. I'm not looking at it until the end of 2026. Before, I was thinking, maybe I'll try to exit this at the end of 2025 or beginning of 2026, but why not keep holding on to that property and let interest rates come down and let the market continue to appreciate, and then go from there, maybe refinance that and sell it. So for me, I'm looking at what properties am I going to try and sell, and what properties am I holding on to.
Yep, absolutely. And I think just kind of on top of that, just thinking about Fed cuts and stuff like that, that will naturally affect kind of where cap rates continue to change here in Northwest Arkansas and around the country. And so that'll be just something to keep an eye out for. There are a lot of predictions out there that rates may drop 50 basis points. I think that'd be significant and could really kind of change some things for a lot of people. But realistically, I think the highest prediction is that it'll drop 25 basis points. But I like the practice of what you're talking about, and really just continuing to underwrite deals at today's rates and not hoping for tomorrow's predictions.
Yeah, if it makes sense today, then that's just gravy right there. If it does come, or when it does come down, that's just an extra bonus for you.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, just as we continue to look at the end of 25 and into 26, I think for anybody out there, I think now's the time to really put foot on the gas. If you're looking for something specific, make sure everybody in your network knows you're looking for it, whether that be on social media, whether that be some sort of other outlet, word of mouth or email, or however you want to do it specifically. I know that's a practice I've been trying to put in continuously, is that, hey, I'm looking for 2 to 24 units in Northwest Arkansas. Brian, I know a lot of people, when they think about multifamily, they're thinking about Brian Wagers, and so that's what you want to continue to want to be, that guy and or that gal that will be at the forefront of those opportunities when they come up, because you can't be everywhere every time. And so even if you are a deal finder, some of your biggest assets are going to be brokers, or are going to be other people that are out in the market looking for deals. And so any way that you can be in front of them and be a closer and be someone that takes care of other people, I think the better as we go into 2026. So
yeah, and I think even high level too, without getting too nitty gritty, I'm looking at my systems and what worked really well throughout 2025? What were some opportunities to improve on? What can I be implementing in 2026? Everyone loves it. I'm a very goal oriented and goal, driven individual, which is great. It happens at the end of the year, but it's not a bad time to start doing it now. Like looking at your goals for 2026 and even setting some goals for the end of I would like to close on 2 more existing properties, in 2025, and I would like to, do at least get one more development deal in the works. So, that's kind of my goals for the end of 2025 is close 2 more existing deals, that 5 to 100 units, and then get a development deal moving and breaking ground.
Love it. Yeah, I think that's. I'm very similar and super goal driven. Love to kind of at least visit that every end of the year and kind of where we want to be at the end of next year and where we want to be in 5 years, 10 years, and what that looks like. And so, would encourage anybody to continue to do the same, especially if you're in real estate and then just look back at those often. Write them down every day if that's something that works for you, or revisit them quarterly even, and then have those in your corner that encourage you towards that. So, but 2025 was, I think a really strong year for Northwest Arkansas. I think 2026, especially with the growth we're going to continue to have, will continue to be strong here in Northwest Arkansas. And so, if there are opportunities out there that make sense conservatively at today's rates, I think Brian and I both would recommend that you strongly consider and try to jump on that. So.
Yeah, and I think, we still have a quarter left in 2025, and we'll be probably having another episode of a closer to the end of the year, but to really be forward thinking, now is the best time to be, forward thinking.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks again for listening to NWA Investing Podcast. We want to continue to bring y'all value, where we see it, and we've got the RVest Skyline reports that will likely drop sometime in the next few weeks to month, and we'll quickly get together and get you all the info on that and talk through really all the data from the first half of 2025. And then we've really got some great guests coming up as well down the pipeline and for the rest of 2025. So continue to listen in, and if there's anything that we could cover that you guys would like to see, reach out to our Instagram or reach out to our emails direct, and we'd love to talk through that. So
yeah, nwainvesting.com.
That's right. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and list some sponsors off here. We're going to start with Whinstone Private Lending. This episode is brought to you by Whinstone Private Lending, one of the top private and hard money lenders now serving Northwest Arkansas. Whether you need short-term capital for a flip, a bridge loan, or creative financing, they've got you covered with very flexible products to fit nearly any deal, including 100% financing. What sets them apart is their deep expertise, fast response times, and ability to think outside of the box to help investors like us close quickly and efficiently. If you're looking for a real lending partner, check out Whinstone Private Lending. Link is in the show notes. Our next sponsor is Advantage Title and Escrow. They're a local company. They do great work, specifically Kayla Phillips. I can speak personally on this sponsor because I use Kayla for all of my transactions. It's been 2, 3, 4 years now, and Kayla and I have done a ton of deals. We probably do between 65 to 80 deals a year together, and they do a great job. The SOPs, so systems and processing that they have over Advantage Title, is just incredible. Clients love it. They do a great job from start to end communicating. When I give a deal to Advantage Title and Escrow, I know that it's going to be taken care of. There's no second guessing. I almost am able to treat them like a second transaction coordinator to my transaction coordinator that I already have. I know that they're going to handle the systems and processes correctly as an agent, as a homeowner, as a buyer or seller. They do an incredible job of handling a transaction and communicating throughout the process. They do a great job with communication, especially Kayla Phillips over there. I would highly encourage you, if you're looking to close on a home, buy a home, if you're an agent listening, to use Advantage Title and Escrow, specifically Kayla Phillips. So you're going to reach Kayla best at 501-358-1601, or you can email her, Kayla, Cayla, at goadvantagetitle.com. Advantage is ADVANTAGE title.com. Banks are about community, and Century Bank of the Ozarks has been your community bank for 131 years. That's over a century, since 1894. They've been helping neighbors build homes, grow businesses, and plan futures. Because they're locally owned, your loan approval happens here, not miles away. Visit their locations in Fayetteville and Mountain Home, Arkansas, as well as Gainesville, Theodosia, Bakersfield, and Ava, Missouri. Century Bank of the Ozarks, local bankers make local decisions since 1894. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an update.
Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for more real estate insights and behind-the-scenes content.
Have a question you want us to cover? Send it our way. And if you're interested in sponsoring the show, visit nwainvesting.com to get in touch. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.